How are you? Okay naman kayo?
Okay naman po, Dok.
Okay naman po, Dok.
Sige, this will be siguro around 45 minutes. And then after you have your lab. Okay. You may turn off your videos. I don't mind. It's okay. Tapos mag-coffee-coffee lang kayo, breakfast. Okay. Hold on. So, good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Paula Sigma Javier. I'm actually an ENT head and neck surgeon, but for today, medyo obstetrics tayo. So, I will be lecturing on the female pelvic organs. Okay, so for the outline of this lecture, first we will discuss, or I will show you an overview of everything, of all the organs we're discussing today. And then we will discuss the ovaries, the fallopian tubes or uterine tubes or oviducts, the uterus and the cervix, and finally the vagina. Okay, so just an overview of everything we're discussing for today. We have here your ovary with the round ligament of the ovary, and its attachment also to the lateral wall, the suspensory ligament of the ovary. So these are parts of the broad ligament. And then we have your uterine tubes, the infundibulum with the fimbriae. The fimbriae is where your egg cells are trapped in order for it to travel through your fallopian tube. Okay, so parts of the fallopian tube are your fimbriae, the infundibulum. Actually, the fimbriae is part of the infundibulum. So in the infundibulum with the fimbriae, and then the ampulla, which is the most dilated part of your tube, the isthmus, the narrowest portion, and finally the intramural part, which pierces your uterus. The uterus naman has different parts as well. So we have here in the superior segment your fundus, the fundus of the uterus, and then the intersection of your superior and lateral parts, the cornua, the corpus or the body, and then finally the cervix. The cervix is attached or pierces the anterior portion of your vagina. So the vagina has 4 fornices, the anterior, posterior, and lateral fornices. Okay, so we will also discuss the blood supply of your female pelvic organs. So the ovaries are and part of the fallopian tube as well as part of the uterus. They are all supplied by your ovarian artery. So the ovarian artery has is a branch of your abdominal aorta. And then the uterus, part of the vagina and the cervix, derives its blood supply from the uterine artery, which is a branch of your internal iliac. Okay. Also, the vagina, but you will discuss this in more detail later on, since it's part of the perineum, also derives some of its blood supply from the internal pudendal. Okay. So this is just a view of the cavity of your female pelvic organ. So this is a contrast enhanced X-ray. So we have here your cervical canal. In this patient, the cervical canal is dilated and stretched. And then we have the isthmus of the uterus. Okay, the uterine cavity, the fundus, attached to the uterine tube. Okay, so also it has an isthmus, ampulla, the most dilated portion, and the infundibulum. One thing to keep in mind for the practical exam, if you point to a certain structure, for example, it's the isthmus of the uterus, you have to be specific Don't just say isthmus because as you can see, the fallopian tube also has an isthmus. Okay? And the round ligament, you have to be specific if it is the round ligament of the ovary or the round ligament of the uterus. Okay, so for the ovaries, this is the outline of our discussion. So the ovaries, we have one on each side of the pelvis. It is oval shaped, measuring around 1.5 by 0.75 inches or 4 by 2 centimeters. It attaches to the back of the broad ligament via the mesovarium. So the mesovarium is part of the broad ligament. So when we discuss the broad ligament later on, we will be discussing the other parts as well. And then we have the suspensory ligament of the ovary. This is also part of the broad ligament. As I mentioned earlier, this one attaches the ovary to the lateral wall of the pelvis. This is also where you will find your ovarian vessels, the suspensory ligament. The round ligament of the ovary attaches your ovary to the lateral portion of the uterus. This is a remnant of the gubernaculum. So, both the round ligament of the ovary and the round ligament of the uterus are remnants of the ovarian gubernaculum. Okay. So here, just a quick view. This is the ovary. In this view, or on coronal section, we can't really see the attachment of the suspensory ligament. But it is supposed to be here, suspending the ovary to the lateral wall of the pelvis. Okay, this whole blue thing is your broad ligament. And then here you will also see the epiophoron and the paraophoron suspended in the broad ligament as well. These structures are remnants of your Wolffian duct or mesonephric duct. So, diba, sa males, if you discussed it earlier, diba, merong epididymis and paradidymis. So, epididymis corresponds to your epiophoron and the paraophoron corresponds to your paradidymis. So, in females, they don't really they don't really have a function or they're just remnants. Okay. So here we have your uterine tube, your ovary. This is the round ligament of the ovary or the ovarian ligament or just the ligament of the ovary. So all of these answers I will accept for the practical exams as long as you're specific. Okay. So what else? So here we have your on lateral view, the round ligament is more visible. And also here we will see the round ligament of the uterus. Okay. Also here we see the ureter, which is crossed by your uterine artery. Okay, so the ovarian fossa are depressions or fossae are depressions in the lateral wall of the pelvis where the ovary usually lies. Why usually? Because the ovaries don't necessarily lie in the exact same location in every person. So it may be random, especially after pregnancy. Because during pregnancy, the uterus, since it expands, it brings up the ovaries and turns it into an abdominal organ. So once a pregnancy is done or the patient has given birth already, the ovaries go back to the pelvis, but they may assume a different position. So it won't necessarily go back to the same position. So it's a bit random. Okay, so the ovarian fossa is related superiorly to the external iliac vessels and also posteriorly to the internal iliac. Here also, you will see that the ureter passes anterior to your internal iliac vessels and then passes backward and posteriorly. Okay, so it crosses also your uterus to pierce the posterior border of your bladder. The tunica albuginea is a thin fibrous capsule that surrounds your ovaries, and the tunica albuginea are surrounded by your germinal epithelium. So this is a misnomer because it doesn't give rise to the ova, the germinal epithelium. It is just a modified area of peritoneum. So don't be mistaken in thinking that the germinal epithelium gives rise to your egg cells. Okay? It does not. Okay, so for the function, your ovaries contain your ova, your ovum, your egg cells, and it produces estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone are secreted in mature females. For the blood supply, as I mentioned earlier, the blood supply is from the ovarian artery, which is a branch of your abdominal aorta, and it is drained by your ovarian vein. For the lymph drainage, it follows the ovarian artery and drains to the para-aortic nodes at the level of the first lumbar vertebra. The nerve supply is derived from the aortic plexus and accompanies the ovarian artery. Now let's proceed to the fallopian tubes. So we have, just like we have two ovaries, we have two fallopian tubes as well, also known as your uterine tubes, also known as your oviducts. They are about 4 inches each and lie in the upper border of the broad ligament. So nasa upper border siya. And posterior to your round ligament of the uterus. So it has 4 parts: the infundibulum, the ampulla, the isthmus, and the intramural part which pierces your uterus. And again, the infundibulum also has your fimbriae, which are the finger-like projections which trap the eggs or the egg cells once it is released from the ovary. So the uterine tube receives the ovum from the ovary and provides a site where fertilization occurs. So this is usually in the ampulla. So this is also where the sperm cells travel through in order to meet with the egg cell. This is the site of fertilization. It also provides nourishment for the fertilized ovum and transport it to the uterine cavity. So what happens when this fails? There are some cases wherein the fertilized ovum actually implants in the fallopian tube. So this is not compatible with life. In this case, you have to remove the uterine tube. Even though parang the ovum or the embryo is already growing. Yun. So it's a bit syempre that's gonna be a difficult surgery for the mother kasi diba it's fertilized already and then you have to get it removed. Okay. So for the blood supply, it is supplied by your uterine artery, which is a branch of your internal iliac, and collaterals from your ovarian artery from the abdominal aorta. Okay, so the veins correspond to the arteries. Lymph drainage is via the internal iliac and para-aortic nodes. Nerve supply, sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves from the inferior hypogastric plexuses. Now let's proceed to the uterus and the cervix. So the uterus is a hollow pear-shaped organ with muscular walls. It has the fundus, which is above the entrance of the uterine tubes, the body below the entrance, and the cervix, the narrow part of the uterus. When you go into obstetrics or when you have your junior internship, you will hear about the cervix a lot because this is what we assess in order to check whether the patient is in active labor or not. This is the one that gets dilated or effaced. So this is how you assess a pregnant patient. during internal examination. So it pierces the anterior wall of the vagina and is divided into the supravaginal and vaginal parts of the cervix. So the internal os is the one that communicates with the uterine cavity. The external os communicates with the vaginal canal. So the one we assess during internal exam is your external os. Syempre, kasi you can't reach the internal os naman. Okay. For the uterus, again, it is a thick-walled, hollow muscular organ. It is pear-shaped. In nulliparous patients, it is around 6 to 8 centimeters. The fundus and the cervix are almost equal in length. In multiparous patients, it is around 9 to 10 centimeters, so a bit bigger or longer. The cervix is 1/3 of the total length. So these are the relations of your uterus. Anteriorly, we have the uterovesical pouch, which is a reflection of your peritoneum and the superior surface of the bladder. So the supravaginal cervix, kasi diba we have two parts, the supravaginal cervix is related to the superior surface of the bladder, while the vaginal cervix is related to the anterior fornix of the vagina. Which makes sense, diba? Kasi the cervix pierces the vagina and the vaginal part is inside the vagina, the cavity of the vagina already. So it is related to the anterior fornix. Posteriorly, another reflection of the peritoneum, which is the rectouterine pouch, is related to the uterus. Also, the rectouterine pouch is also called your pouch of Douglas. In some cases, it is also referred to as the cul-de-sac. It is also related posteriorly with coils of ileum or sigmoid colon. Laterally, if you see the whole pelvic, the female pelvic cavity on coronal view, you will already be able to visualize what are related to the uterus laterally. So we have the broad ligament and the uterine artery and vein. For the supravaginal cervix, it is related to the ureter as it passes forward to enter the bladder. Diba? We saw this earlier. The vaginal cervix is related to the lateral fornix kasi nga lateral, diba? Of the vagina. Also, the uterus is related to the uterine tubes kasi diba it pierces your uterus laterally. So these are found in the superolateral angles of the uterus. And we can also find the round ligaments of the ovary and of the uterus, which are attached to the uterine wall. Okay, just a sagittal view of the female pelvis. Here we have the uterus. These are the reflections of your peritoneum, the uterovesical pouch, uterovesical because the uterus and the bladder, okay, vesicle, the bladder, rectouterine pouch, rectum, and uterus, rectouterine pouch. So these are just reflections of your peritoneum. Here we have the bladder, the cervix, the supravaginal cervix related to the superior aspect of your bladder, while your vaginal cervix is related to the anterior fornix of your vagina. Okay. And then posteriorly, we see the posterior fornix of your vagina also. Okay. So the uterus serves as a site for the reception, retention, and nutrition of the fertilized ovum. What are the parts? So here we have the fundus, the convex upper segment between the points of insertion of the fallopian tubes. So this is your fundus. The cornua at the junction of the superior and lateral margins, cornua here. The corpus or the body, which has two surfaces. The vesicle anteriorly, which is related to your bladder. Always, when you see the word vesicle, you always think bladder. Okay, vesicle related to the bladder. Intestinal posteriorly related to your rectum. The isthmus, the narrow portion of your uterus are located between the internal cervical os and the endometrial cavity. So it forms the lower uterine segment during pregnancy. And finally, we have the cervix with the internal os and the external os. Okay, internal os related to the endometrial cavity or the uterine cavity, and the external os related to your vagina. So the cervix is the lower part of the uterus. Again, this is very important when assessing a pregnant patient. It is about 2.5 to 3 centimeters. It has two divisions. So the supravaginal portion between the isthmus and the vagina, and the vaginal portion that protrude into the superiormost anterior vaginal wall. This is the junction between the cervix and the uterus is the internal os. So this is the cervix viewed from the vaginal canal. So in nulliparous patients or those who haven't given birth yet, it is round. The opening, cervical opening is round, while in multiparous or those patients who have already given birth, it is slit-like. Slit-like. Okay. So for the layers of the uterus, the outermost layer related to your peritoneum is the serosa or the perimetrium here. Okay. The thickest layer is your muscular layer or myometrium here. So the myometrium is the most is also important during pregnancy because of its muscular or its it causes your contractions, or it's the one that contracts during labor. And then the mucosa or the endometrium is the innermost layer here inside. The innermost mucosa layer of your endometrium is the one that sheds off during menstruation. Also, it is it is where your fertilized ovum implants. So the endometrium is where your fertilized ovum implants. So what is the normal position of the uterus? So it is antiflexed and anteverted. So basically, this just refers to the angles of the uterus, between the uterus, the cervix, and the vagina. So for antiflexed, it refers to the anterior bend of the uterus at the angle between the cervix and the body of the uterus. So for antiflexed, always remember that we are referring to the angle between the cervix and the body of the uterus. For the anteverted, it refers to the anterior bend of the uterus at the angle between the cervix and the vagina. So for anteverted, it's the cervix and the vagina. Okay. Retroverted, this is a pathologic condition. The fundus and body of the uterus is bent backward on the vagina so that they lie in the rectouterine pouch. So parang nakahiga siya. So in this case, it would be difficult for the patient to conceive because of the position of the uterus. So this is usually diagnosed via ultrasound and is found in some patients who have difficulty conceiving. So this is the normal position of the uterus. Just to orient you, this is the axis of the uterine body, this is the axis of the cervix, and this is the axis of the vagina. So the angle of anteflexion is between the axis of the uterine body and the axis of the cervix. Anteflexion. So the angle of anteversion is between the axis of the cervix and the axis of the vagina. Okay. For the arterial supply, we have your uterine arteries. Uterine arteries from your internal iliac and collateral branches from the ovarian arteries. The ovarian artery originates or is a branch of your abdominal aorta. Venous drainage is via the internal iliac veins. This is just to show you the position of the incision for cesarean section or hysterotomy on the anterior surface of the uterus. Okay, and these are the parts of the uterine artery which we ligate during this procedure. Okay, so again, this is the uterine artery. This is the internal iliac. These are the sites of ligation. This is your vaginal artery, actually. Also coming from your internal iliac. Okay, so for the uterine support, we have the round ligament. The round ligament of the uterus. So again, please be specific during the practical exams. So extends from the lateral portion of the uterus. It is actually located anterior to your fallopian tube. Anterior to your fallopian tube. It corresponds embryologically to the ovarian gubernaculum, just like the round ligament of your ovary. Okay. So on superior view, I just wanted to show you that this is posterior, this is anterior. So this is the round ligament of the uterus. This is the fallopian tube, which is the most superior portion of the round ligament. Okay. This is the ovarian ligament, round ligament of the ovary, ligament of the ovary. Okay. Here we have your suspensory ligament, the suspensory ligament of the ovary. As you will notice, the suspensory ligament contains your ovarian vessels. Okay. Here anteriorly, we have the urinary bladder. This yellow covering is your uterovesical pouch. Here, the pouch. Vesicouterine pouch. Here. And then here we have the rectouterine pouch or pouch of Douglas or cul-de-sac. Okay. The support, the most important support of the uterus is your broad ligament. So it encompasses the whole thing and also includes the ovaries and the fallopian tubes. So this is a wing-like structure from the lateral margins to the pelvic side wall. It is a double layer of peritoneum with an anterior and a posterior leaf. Divided into 4 regions, the mesosalpinx related to your fallopian tube, the mesovarium related to your ovaries, mesometrium related to your uterus, and the suspensory ligament of the ovary, which suspends the ovaries to the lateral pelvic side walls and contains your ovarian vessels. Okay, again, just to reiterate, the mesosalpinx related to your fallopian tube, the mesovarium related to your ovary, mesometrium related to your uterus, the suspensory ligament of the ovary, which contains your ovarian vessels and suspends the ovary to the lateral pelvic side walls. So these are the contents of the broad ligament. We have your ovarian artery, vein and nerves, the uterine tubes or fallopian tubes or oviducts, the ovarian ligament of the uterus. I'd prefer it if you just stated that it is the ovarian ligament, round ligament of the ovary, or ligament of the ovary. Please don't include of the uterus. It is quite confusing. So this is a remnant of the gubernaculum of the embryo or the ovarian gubernaculum, just like the round ligament of the uterus. This is also a remnant of the gubernaculum. We also have the epoophoron, which I already discussed a bit earlier. The paraophoron. The Cartner duct is also a remnant of the mesonephric duct of the embryo. So just like the epoophoron and the paraophoron. And then we also have the ureter, the uterine artery, veins, and nerves. So here we just another review of the broad ligament. So we have here your broad ligament, the mesosalpinx, the mesovarium, mesometrium. Okay. Which they all contain your fallopian tube. Again, you will see here that it is the most superior portion of your broad ligament. And then we have the ligament of the ovary, round ligament of the ovary here, which attaches the ovary to the lateral wall of your uterus. So the suspensory ligament of the ovary, which contains your ovarian vessels. What else? Here, the mesometrium. Once reflected, the anterior, once removed, the anterior leaf will actually reveal the epiophoron. Here somewhere is the paraophoron, but we can't see it here. What else? The different layers of the uterus, the parametrium we can't really see anymore. Myometrium and the endometrium. Okay, so here another support for the cervix is your cardinal ligament of McEnroe's ligament. So for the uterine support, mostly to the cervix, we have the transverse cervical ligament or the cardinal ligament of McEnroe. Okay? So maybe for the practical exam, we will accept cardinal ligament of McEnroe, ligament of McEnroe, transverse cervical ligament. Okay? It extends laterally from the cervix to the side walls of the pelvis. So it is this one. This is posterior, this is anterior. So the cardinal ligaments are lateral to your cervix. It is located at the base of the broad ligament. We also have the uterosacral ligament. It attaches posterolaterally to the supravaginal portion of the cervix and extends into the sacrum. So uterosacral, from the uterus to the sacrum, but actually more of the cervix, supravaginal portion of the cervix. They form the lateral boundaries of the pouch of Douglas. So you will see here on both sides, we have a uterosacral ligament. Here you will find your pouch of Douglas or rectouterine pouch or cul-de-sac. And then finally, we have the pubocervical ligament. Pubocervical naman, anterior. Okay? Anterior. So from the cervix to the pubic symphysis, this also helps prevent cystoceles. Okay? So this is your cervix. This is your pubocervical ligament. So laterally, we have the transverse cervical ligament. And then posteriorly, we have your sacrocervical ligament or uterosacral ligament. Uterosacral ligament. Tapos here we have your pouch of Douglas. So the uterus is related to the peritoneum. It covers the uterus anterior and superiorly except the cervix. It is also reflected anteriorly onto the bladder, which is your vesicouterine pouch, and posteriorly over the fornix of the vagina and rectum. This is your rectouterine pouch. So this is the last part, the vagina. So the vagina is a muscular tube measuring about 7 to 9 centimeters. It extends from the vulva to the uterus. So the vulva you will discuss in more detail when you discuss the female perineum. So it is interposed anteriorly and posteriorly between the urinary bladder and the rectum. So this is your bladder. This is anterior. Posteriorly, we have your rectum. Okay, rectum. It is subdivided by the cervix into your anterior fornix, posterior fornix, and your lateral fornices on both sides of your cervix. This serves as a canal for menstrual fluid. It forms the inferior part of the birth canal. It receives the penis and ejaculate during sexual intercourse and communicates superiorly with the cervical canal and inferiorly with the vestibule of the vagina. So actually the vagina, you will discuss in more detail also later on when you discuss the female perineum. So it lies posterior to the urinary bladder and urethra. Lies anterior to the rectum. So it is sandwiched between the urinary bladder and the rectum. The vaginal fornix has three parts, which is divided by your vaginal cervix, the anterior, the two lateral fornices, and the posterior. So the posterior is the deepest part and closely related to the rectouterine pouch or the pouch of Douglas. So here we have your vagina, we have your anterior fornix and your posterior fornix. Here we can see the rectouterine pouch. Rectouterine pouch here. This is the rectum. This is the bladder. Here we have your vesicouterine pouch. Okay. This is your vagina. Okay. So these are the different muscles that compress the vagina. So let's start from anterior. We have your pubovaginalis here. Pubovaginalis. This is your vagina. This is the pubovaginalis attached to the exterior part of your vagina. We also have the external urethral sphincter. External urethral sphincter. The bulbus sponjosus, which is part of your pelvic floor. Also, you will discuss this later on in the female perineum. And the urethrovaginal sphincter. Urethrovaginal sphincter here. Okay, so these are the muscles that compress the vagina. Okay, so the upper third of the vagina is supplied by your uterine artery, lymphatically drained by your uterovaginal plexus, which drains into the internal iliac veins through the uterine veins. Innervation is via the deep perineal nerve, which is a branch of the pudendal nerve, and conveys only sympathetic fibers. Okay. Only the inferior 1/5 to 1/4 of the vagina is innervated. Okay, so for the middle third and lower third, we have it is supplied by your vaginal and internal pudendal artery. The lymphatic drainage and innervation are the same as the upper third. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for your kind attention and I hope you have a nice day. Do you have any questions, clarification?